Welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to go over the top 5 flattest shooting Wildcat cartridges in the world. So previously I did a top 5 flattest shooting factory cartridges, and now I'm going to go over even crazier, flatter shooting cartridges. Hope you enjoy the video. Real quick, I just wanted to go through the criteria and how came up with this list, really. Number one, it has to be a Wildcat cartridge. It cannot be a former Wildcat cartridge that's turned into a factory cartridge. Okay, so it currently has to be a Wildcat cartridge. Number two, in my past video where I talked about the top 5 flattest shooting factory cartridges, I had some limitations. It had to be with a factory rifle and it had to be with factory ammo. With this one, anything goes. Could be a custom rifle, obviously could be reloaded ammo. So we're just looking for the flattest thing on the planet. Lastly, we're going to be looking at these directly at 1,000 yards. So, we're going to see which one is the flattest to 1,000. Now, before I get to the top 5 list of the flattest shooting Wildcat cartridges to 1,000 yards, I wanted to talk about an honorable mention. And in fact, this cartridge is actually the flattest shooting cartridge out to about 400 yards. But because of poor BC of the bullets, it doesn't do so well out to 1,000. And what cartridges am I going to talk about? Well, a 223 Remington, and right in front of me is a 378 Weatherby. And what happens when you take a 378 Weatherby and neck it down to 22 caliber? Well, you get the 22 Eargesplitten Loudon Boomer. Yes, that is an actual cartridge. An absolutely ridiculous cartridge. In the 60s, P.O. Ackley, of course, was the one that started doing development for this Wildcat cartridge. So he took a 378 Weatherby and necked it down to 22 caliber. And the whole idea was to get a cartridge that was going to shoot a bullet over 5,000 feet per second. Now, unfortunately, P.O. Ackley was never able to get it to go over 5,000 feet per second. And he did get a 50 grain bullet to go 4,600 feet per second, and according to reloading books, that's 700 feet per second faster than the 220 Swift. Now, I assume that if someone tried to do this again with more modern powder, maybe even a longer barrel, you probably could get 5,000 feet per second with a 35 grain bullet. But as it stands today, it only went 4,600 feet per second. But even with it going 4,600 feet per second, out to 400 yards, it only drops 11 inches. Now, the fastest factory cartridge, the 65300, drops around 16 inches at 400 yards. So it was a whole 5 inches flatter than a 65300 Weatherby. At number 5 is a 257 caliber. In front of me is a 257 Weatherby Magnum. And what happens when you take the 257 Weatherby, you stretch it out to a Magnum length, and you get velocities of 150, maybe 200 feet per second faster than this guy. Well, let me give you a hint on what it is. The parent case is this guy, the 7mm STW. So what am I talking about? We're going to talk about the 257 STW. Now let me show you how it compares to a 257 Weatherby Magnum. So yeah, it's a bit longer. So, it's not the most efficient cartridge, obviously. But again, as I said, the 257 STW is going to have velocities that are roughly 150, maybe 200 feet per second faster than 257 Weatherby. So what does that do for you? Well, you can load a 110 grain bullet and it can go well over 3,500 feet per second, almost pushing you could probably get 3,600 feet per second, which gives you a ridiculously flat trajectory out to 1,000 yards. So let's go ahead and look at the numbers real quick. With the 257 STW using a 110 grain bullet and it going at 3,575 feet per second at 1,000 yards, it only has 203 inches of drop when it's zeroed at 100. So it is quite a fast cartridge. At number 4 is a newer Wildcat cartridge, and that is the 33XC. Now, the 33XC parent case came from the 338 Lapua Magnum. And the whole point with the 33XC, which XC stands for extra capacity, is that they kind of wanted to modernize the 338 Lapua Magnum. So what the creator did was he took a 338 Lapua, straightened the walls out a little bit, lengthened it to all the way to a little over 3 inches. So, you know, this one, the 338 Lapua only goes 2.724. And then I believe it has a 30-degree shoulder. So it's a bit more modern with the shoulder as well. And what you get is some crazy velocities with some really big, heavy, high BC bullets. So let me show you. When you load it with a 300 grain burger bullet, you're going to see velocities that are over 3,100 feet per second. Now, the 338 Lapua will shoot a 300 grain burger around 27, maybe a little more with a longer barrel. So it's roughly about 400 feet per second faster than the 338 Lapua. And when you sight it in at 100 yards or zero it, and then you take it out to 1,000, it only has 203 inches of drop at 1,000, just like the 257 STW. At number 3 is the 6.53 Scramjet, which is a Lazzaroni cartridge. And the 653 is really what it stands for, is a 257 cartridge. To get an idea of what a Lazzaroni cartridge looks like, at least the 6.53 Scramjet, you take a 378 Weatherby case, so like this one, this 3378 Weatherby. It's a tad bit shorter, but the case width is exactly the same. And so you're going to get basically same type of performance. So it's pretty insane with a 257 caliber. Now, Lazzaroni actually sells 6.53 Scramjet ammo. And the ammo they offer is a 100 grain Nosler ballistic tip, and the muzzle velocity is an insane 3,810 feet per second. And so when you sight this in or zero it at 100, the drop at 1,000 yards is only 201 inches. At number 2 is the 408 Cheyenne Tactical. You might know it as the 408 Chi-Tac. It was originally developed as a cartridge for military long-range sniping. And from 2013 to roughly 2020, maybe 2021, it was kind of considered a factory cartridge by the CIP, which is, by my best guess, is kind of like SAMI for international cartridges. But for whatever reason, CIP decided to deregister it in 2020. So now it's back to being a Wildcat cartridge. The parent case is loosely based off the 505 Gibbs, and you can load it with a 305 grain bullet, which is kind of on the smaller end, and it's going a ridiculous velocity of 3,500 feet per second out of the muzzle. And so when you sight that in or zero it at 100, you are only going to have 180 inches of drop at 1,000 yards. And the flattest Wildcat cartridge currently is the 7.21 Lazzaroni Firebird. This Lazzaroni cartridge also uses the same case as the 6.53 Scramjet cartridge, but it's necked up to 7mm. And Lazzaroni does provide ammo for you, and they actually load the 162 grain ELDX bullet at a blistering speed of 3,527 feet per second. With that high BC of a bullet, it only drops 174 inches at 1,000 yards, which to my best estimates, this is the flattest shooting Wildcat cartridge. Thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. There are a lot of Wildcat cartridges, and I could have missed one that should be in the top 5, or who knows, even faster than the 7.21 Firebird. So let me know in the comments if there are faster ones out there that I'm unaware of. Thanks again for watching.